I'd like to welcome you today to our new cohort basic training. And I think we're going to start off today just by introducing our team members. Hold on, there we go. And maybe I can start off and I'll pass it along. I'm Sam Lee. I'm the Chief Ambassador of the California MAP Initiative. I'm also the Vice President of Academic Affairs at Norco College. I'm on loan this year and next year to serve in this capacity to help serve you, the colleges in the state, to optimize credit for prior learning for our military service members and adult learners. Let me turn it over to Terrence.
Hey guys, Terrence Nelson, been involved with CPL from the faculty ranks for many years. And as of this fall, I jumped over full-time with the California MAP Initiative as a Director of Academic and Institutional Partnerships. Very excited to be here, see a lot of my peer institutions, know that, as Sam alluded to, we're part of your team. So as you need help, I've already gotten text messages from the beginning of this meeting from some of you. Rely on all of us, including Sam, Calvin, Brooke, and myself. Rely on us, ask us questions. We're here to be part of your team as well. So Cal?
Wonderful. Thank you, Mr. Terrence. Hi, everyone. My name is Calvin Gloria. I'll be your MAP project expert. I help you implement MAP into your institutions, academically, with anything you may need, and even a technical side. Moreover, I'm a U.S. Navy veteran, so this project is near and dear to my heart. So anything you may need, just ask away. Let me pass it on to Mr. Pedro Campos.
I'll actually jump in. I believe Pedro had to attend another meeting. My apologies.
No worries.
My name is Brooke Goins. I am the lead MAP success manager for this initiative. I'm very excited to be working with you guys. Our
goal is to help you get through.
There we go. Go ahead, Brooke.
That's fine. I'm going to be assisting with your technical side. Any questions that you have, getting the application going and working for your college, that's where I'll come in and help you get going. So really looking forward to working with you.
And maybe, is Chris on?
I am. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Christopher Spedides. I am the CTO for the MAP Initiative. Again, I'll be helping out with any technical issues. Brooke is helping me get ramped up. So I'm about 3 weeks in, so I'm pretty new to the initiative. So looking forward to working with you all. Thank you.
Great. I thought we would start with, we'll give you some contact information for our team members at the end as well. I thought I would start with a brief video that gives an overview of the California MAP Initiative. This will save us about half an hour of background information, and I think will give us a jump start. And it might be a repeat for some of you, but it might bear repeating as well. So let's get started with that.
This is Army First Sergeant Joey Mora, an Army reservist military policeman with 19 years active duty and 4 overseas tours. Between deployments, Mora took classes while working full-time in civilian law enforcement, but it was tough to keep momentum, and he ended up delaying college, a common problem among adult re-entry learners. Things changed when Mora learned about MAP. In spring 2021, after a 10-year college journey, he was able to complete his AA in social behavioral studies in just 1 year. Veterans get only 36 months of education benefits, so 1 year of credit makes it possible to complete a 4-year degree with no debt. In California, 30 units save $68,619 in GI Bill benefits. Joey's next step is to transfer to a 4-year university to complete his bachelor's degree. Joey's story is unfortunately not the norm. While many veterans and adult re-entry learners have significant training and experience equal or exceeding college coursework, many receive little to no college credit. We believe this is caused by gaps in 3 main areas. Technology. MAP simplifies the complex CPL process and puts the tools to maximize college credit directly in students' hands. Culture. We're working to better understand, support, and optimize CPL at our colleges. And policy. where we're working to reform and prioritize CPL in laws, regulations, and funding structures. The California MAP initiative is making progress on all three fronts, reshaping technology, culture, and policy to change the equation for veterans and adult reentry learners across the state and beyond. The mission of the California MAP initiative is to maximize credit for prior learning, or CPL, for veterans and adult reentry learners so they receive the credit they deserve, avoid repeat study, and achieve extended educational and career goals with existing benefits and financial aid. MAP provides the technology for colleges to create and manage credit for military and industry training, certification, and work experience, and gives students the tools they need to request the credit they deserve. The process starts when a JST, or Joint Services Transcript, is uploaded into MAP, and college staff pair the credit recommendations with local college courses, which are then approved by college faculty or counselors. When faculty approve the pairings, MAP stores them as articulations and makes them available to students. Students then meet with a college counselor to determine the best use of CPL for their major. Students may search for credit using the MAP search, which generates a college credit report listing all recommended credits from the JST and those articulated or approved at the college. Students may electronically send their report to a MAP college for review and assistance obtaining all possible credit. Colleges may adopt articulations from other MAP colleges and apply them locally, keeping students and faculty at the heart of articulation. Using MAP, we can help students like Joey to avoid unnecessary debt and repeat study, and to better understand their educational options early in the process. To learn more about MAP, visit map.rccd.edu.
So in the video, it referenced the MAP cohort. So we wanted to give you a visual of the new MAP cohort with the addition of 21 new members. We'd like to welcome you in, welcome your colleges in to this endeavor. And hopefully you see your institution reflected on this list. And we hope to make some great progress this year, learning with you and developing credit for prior learning with you. This cohort consists of 76 colleges now, serving 17,287, or 74% of the 23,500 California Community College GI Bill recipients. And we are endeavoring to change policy, procedure, and personnel to facilitate CPL. It does take change because this is not something most colleges practice on a regular basis, or at least public colleges in California. We're also looking to process joint services transcripts. You'll hear that a good bit today, JSTs, and non-military certificates to articulate and award CPL. So this is not confined to just military CPL. And we're looking to align our systems and policies to ensure transfer. We're working with the CSU and the UC systems offices to align our policies and procedures and expectations with respect to transfer of credit for prior learning. And we're also looking to be able to adopt articulations from college to college and ensure equitable access to our veterans. We want to ensure that if a veteran goes to Chaffey College, that they get the same CPL or similar CPL that they would get if they went to Las Positas or Solano or San Diego City College. And then lastly, we want to be able to offer guided pathways with embedded CPL. This is part of the process of flipping our CPL process from a petition process to an offer process. This is one of our long-term goals in the initiative, is to create a process that can reach out to adult learners with opportunities that they wouldn't normally consider, and might not consider going to college were it not for an offer of CPL, rather than waiting for them to decide to come to college and then figure out how to petition for CPL. And lastly, we want to measure progress by awarded CPL. So we want to keep a focus on students and not focus so much on how many articulations we make at our college, but how many credits or courses are awarded to students. Terrence, do you want to jump in on any of this before we move on?
I do want to jump in on one thing that I'm always guilty of, folks, and I've seen a lot of familiar faces and names in here, so it's exciting to see you guys. America, Luis, Louis, Bernie, a lot of folks that really care about our students and our system. Some of you guys are very aware of these acronyms and the abbreviations we use. Thank you, Sam, for explaining JST. Many of you have never heard of these things because it's so deep into VA language or DoD language or even higher ed language, certain programs you may not be aware of. So I want to point you to the chat. Cal tossed in a definition of JST, but he has a great script sheet of all the different acronyms and abbreviations that he can share with you guys. It's really going to help you as you engage your partners on your campus. But because what we're really doing is we're looking to build culture and change culture. That's going to affect policy. It's going to affect our practice. The way you change culture is relationships, personal relationships, going to your academic senate, going to your curriculum committee, going to transfer center and discussing these things on behalf of your reentry students. Vets are really close to what I do because I was a veterans counselor for years, but for all reentry students, they don't have the same advocate that our K-12 students have that took AP courses. So we're trying to flip this script and apply what we do with our high school students transitioning in. We're trying to apply that to reentry students. So it's language, it's culture, it's professional developments, all those things. So Sam, I just wanted to kind of cap that stone with that, and then Cal, if you can drop in the foreign language script that we use in our work in CPL, that would be great.
Will do.
That's great. I mean, this is just a reiteration of what you just talked about, Terrence. And our big goal is to mobilize the California Community College system and align it with the CSUs and the UCs and our workforce partners, to maximize CPL. And it's also that our military students who have 3 years worth of benefits can achieve at least a 4-year degree with 3 years worth of benefits. We know that studies show us that the number one reason why service members join in the first place is for these education benefits down the line. And we know that about 25% of survey respondents said that they had to stop or drop out of their higher ed dream because they ran out of benefits, basically at year 3. And so we want to leverage CPL to bridge that gap. And I think that preaching the choir, that's why I believe you're in this room today, why you've joined the cohort as well. We also want to extend this to adult reentry learners so they can access higher ed, maybe surprisingly access higher ed when they hadn't planned to, and achieve skill attainment with existing financial aid without seeking additional funds from the state or the feds.
And I don't want to jump too far ahead, Sam, but it is the military articulation platform, but we are going into MAP 2.0, which we'll cover later, and really going to be able to handle industry credentials and other types of CPL within this tech platform. But the initiative as a whole, the umbrella of the initiative, all of our advocacy, our policy, our professional development does focus on all students beyond veterans, those reentry students. We have some great initiatives going on with criminal justice and administrative justice, some things in auto, cybersecurity that we have on the boilerplate. So not to overwhelm you, but the industry certifications are going to be just as much a priority as our military veterans.
Very much so, and very exciting with those industry certifications with that peace officer safety and training. That's coming down the pike, and that's really exciting. Folks, we're giving you some of this background information, not so much to just to inform you, but so that you're equipped and envision, because this is going to be an ongoing discussion with your various constituencies at your campus and college and district. And we want you to begin to share the language, the data, the outlook, the hope and dreams that we've been sort of steeped in this last few years, so that you can convey some of that in your local settings in a way that fits your culture, in a way that fits the traditions of your college and district. We want to give you a little by the way about the MAP initiative. California MAP initiative is supported by state and federal funds, grant funds. We have enough grant funds to fund us through 2026, and we have a great pipeline of funding that we believe will support us moving forward beyond that. The platform and our services are provided at no cost to colleges, and that's a strategic decision because we want to ensure that funding or lack of funding does not hinder equitable student access to CPL. That's one of our fundamental beliefs. And, we want you to know that our support team is pretty small. We showed you a lot of members on the front, but our support team really is about 3 full-time equivalent staff, in addition to our ITPI partners who provide the tech support and user support. But we also want to rely on our cohort members, on you, because we see expertise in lots of pockets and in lots of ways as we get to know our cohort members. And so we hope over the years to develop just a good amount of crowdsourced help. So as you develop expertise, you share it with us. Another one of our foundational tenets is transparency. So we want to share our articulations, share our best practices, and share our procedures so that we begin to leverage those. And then last is that our local college and district advocacy for CPL, it helps us provide more student services to colleges and opens funding options for you. So we will be looking down the line, not now, but for your support in helping us leverage existing funding like strong workforce funding and other funding to make CPL, to put resources behind CPL. There are really, CPL is not, doesn't find itself in our funding framework in the state. And we'd like to see that change over the long term. By the way, college IT support is not required, but we recommend that you do provide college SLOs, course, and program descriptions, which are not available from Koki. We use Koki data to populate your course and program data, but it's limited. It doesn't include the program and course descriptions, and it doesn't include the SLOs. And so we recommend that you provide those to the extent that that's possible, and we can do that with you over the course of time. There's no rush in that, but it's a great, if you blend it into your implementation program starting now, into the discussions right now with your college colleagues, it's a pretty easy hill to climb, and we'll show you that in a later slide on what needs to be provided there. Do you want to jump in on anything here, Terrence, before I move on?
No, I just reiterating the point that the more this is part of the conversation, the more we keep veterans and reentry students part of the conversation, that is the norm. I'll tell you, over the COVID era, that's the biggest group that we lost. Our K-12s, we were still getting fed from our K-12s fairly well in terms of headcount, but our FTES in reentry students and veterans was hit big time in our system. So, I think we need to keep them part of that conversation. And when equity and social justice is piece of the mantra for our system, open access means we consider prior learning credit and we create platforms that support those students and respect those students. So, just furthering that evidence and keep that in your conversations in your shared governance groups.
Now, we've set some goals for this year, and they may seem modest actually at first, but we set modest goals because we believe the hardest part of this whole process is getting started and working your way through 1 to 10 whole procedures to give maybe 10 students CPL. Once you get through your 10th student, CPL analysis and procedure, then you've figured out, oh, it's going to require this person in the mix, that person in the mix, and you'll iron it out. And so that's what these are intended to do. So our first goal is to process 10 students for CPL. And by process, we basically mean to upload their documents, which in this case is JST, analyze it for credit, complete articulations that need to be completed with faculty approvals, and offer the CPL to students based on their program of study and transfer. That's the whole deal right there for processing CPL. And we'll show you how we do that in just a minute. And then we want to see our colleges add CPL to one existing pathway. And for instance, we're working with Peace Officer Safety and Training Academy completion, and we're looking at like Palomar has done some great work on that. They've articulated 30 units of credit. Well, those 30 units of credit plug into an ADT in Administration of Justice, which transfers then to a CSU. And so we'd like to be able to create, a one-sheet pathway that shows the CPL right on the pathway, so we can get that out to students. That's one type of example. And then another third goal is to feature one student CPL story, like the Joey Mora story for your college, because we think that helps energize your constituents at your college, and it really puts a face to things, and it's feel good when you're seeing these transformational stories at your college. And then make sure that we provide a CPL webpage with just some basic CPL information we provided. And the last is a stretch goal. We are thinking we're planning a November 3rd, 4th annual CPL summit. We're sending out a save the date pretty soon on that. But we're thinking of what could we do to recognize colleges that have done exemplary work in the area of CPL, getting started, CPL getting ramped up, getting CPL underway. And we're setting this stretch goal for colleges to consider whether they could process 100 students for CPL. And then so we're just kicking around ideas, and we'd like to talk with you more about it later. What might be good ways to recognize colleges. Terrence?
Yeah, and November 3rd, please save the date, Friday, November 3rd, from likely from 9 to 1 via Zoom. We'll have our 4th annual summit, as Sam said. So share that around as you develop into a CPL granting institution, over these last few weeks of the spring semester, and then your work in the summer. It's really going to be fall where you're hitting the pavement with making a lot of these articulations, very likely. Using us with our professional development mechanisms, and we have access, you'll have access within MAP when you get into it in the next month or so to see what other colleges have done. You can leverage the best practices, say to your electronics professor, and you can find 5 institutions who have already done these crosswalks. It really helps you. When you bring the faculty in certain disciplines into professional development, like our summit, they can see the broadened scope of their impact of giving, a course or two to a diesel mechanic in their auto program. They only need 3 more classes to capstone to get a certificate. So we offer these professional developments, but with the idea we're trying to affect your institutions and your faculty. So use us. The last thing I'd say is that 100 student goal. If you're in your VRC, if you have access to the original PDFs on your joint services transcripts among your students. If you aren't doing that now, tomorrow, that needs to be part of your intake process. Not scanned copies in an image system, but those original JSTs. If you're already doing it as part of your process, and then your intake of your fall incoming class includes that, you'll hit that 100 student stretch goal like that. It'll be really easy. It's just a matter of changing your procedures.
Great. So I think the first real step you can take, which many of you have already taken, is to complete the MAP intake form. And so all of you have completed except for a few, and I think all the last 3 are working on it today, if they haven't already gotten it complete. And so that really helps us. That MAP team intake form helps us plug in those folks who have a role in MAP for you, so you don't have to spend a lot of time doing that. It also helps us keep you informed. We're not going to send everyone on your list every communication that we send. We'll be careful. We try not to over communicate and rely too much on email, but we do want to be able to CC folks when we think it would benefit your colleges, when we have some sort of resource or development to share with you. Let me turn it over to Terrence, who's going to talk about your MAP team and who all is involved directly and indirectly, and the kind of conversations that get started.
Yeah, I was off on my narrative answering a question in the chat, but this might answer the question as well. The individuals who are on what we call the support team, it's all of the individuals and constituency groups who are impacted by CPL. It's large, and that's one of the reasons we've found that many institutions haven't tackled this. It's a difficult, complicated, item in higher ed. Who owns it? When there's too many, cooks in the kitchen, you don't get something made, right? There's so many folks that could own it that it often finds no home at all. So what we stress from our environmental scan and working with the other 55 colleges who are in the initial cohort is that all of these are types of individuals or roles that would be involved in CPL to some semblance. Now, just because they're involved in it to some semblance, you need the college president support. You need your vice president of administrative services or your vice president of student services support. Why? Because they have the power of the purse and decision-making and allowing folks to put these responsibilities within their work duties. Counselors need to be involved, financial aid, because there's impact on your SAP, school certifying official. Now, with all that said, these are the folks who would be your support system in some way, directly or indirectly. Your CPL team that's an actual committee or a work group is something that I personally emphasize, because you don't want these summer surprises that fall on your automotive technology faculty or the Senate being surprised by these things going on. So a representative group that would be, in my framework, called your CPL work group or your CPL committee, if you want it to be official, would be comprised of certain individuals in this group who represent their groups, right? A senior evaluator, and your articulation officer, your VRC coordinator. But you do want to establish your that working group, right? That would inform what the workflow would be. We've heard it from any framework, and the next slide will come into it, but that where you see that CPL support team, and then it drops down to a MAP/CPL workflow. That would inform who's actually working within the tech application, the actual MAP IT system. And that's a very small group compared to the larger group that is your CPL committee or CPL work group.
Yeah, let me just jump in on that a little bit, Terrence. I don't want you to feel intimidated by all these positions here. Some of these are just in the information flow. Some are consulted occasionally, some are consulted regularly. Some of you don't have all these roles at your college. And at some colleges, it might be one person doing most of this. We kind of are used to that situation. And then at some of the colleges, we just met with a college that had 30 folks on the call that were all raring to go. And so that is a whole different, that's a whole different ballgame. And we don't want you to believe that you need to have a full complement in place to move forward. You can move forward with one person, two persons, three. And your
politics is different, right? Yeah. Same, like if you're talking Cerro Coso College versus a Santa Monica versus Mount Sac or Bakersfield, the politics and the players are different. So this does look large and intimidating, you're right. But you do want to cast a net to keep people informed, but only to the level that you're not slowing down progress. I think we'd put it that way.
Yeah, let me go back. Let me jump out of I'm going to jump out of presentation mode here just quickly, and forgive me for this, but I'm going to show you this document that's embedded on here, and Cal is going to put a copy, if he hasn't already, of the PowerPoint in the chat that you can download. And so you'll have access to this. But this gives you the MAP role descriptions. So if you're wondering, what each role what their part might be, this is just our beginning attempt to describe how it can look for each role at the college. For instance, there's a JST point of contact. We found that it's important to know who has access to the JSTs on the .mil site, and so you'll need to know who that person is and make sure that you have a workflow with them. You want to know who the school certifying official is, and maybe whether they're in the VRC or whether you have a VRC, or whether they're involved in the day-to-day workings of veterans, or whether they're more focused on financial aid stuff. And that'll affect pretty much what you can expect of that role. And the counselor's role versus the curriculum specialist, who might need to be informed of CPL decisions. Your academic senate president, which plays a real important role with supporting CPL, because it is part of the 10+1 purview of faculty. And we want to make sure that faculty are in the middle of this process, or at least authorizing this process as it goes. And then your VP of Academic Affairs and Student Affairs play a significant role in helping you develop workflows, staffing issues, resource issues. And the college president, hopefully the college president is informed and very supportive of CPL, because that helps keep the lines of communication open and gives you wind at your back, really. And then there's other personnel to consider as well. So anyway, we've got this for you. And let me jump back into slideshow mode.
And I think as you develop your CPL committee or work group, and what that looks like, the players, again, lean on us. Our small group, we have 3 full-time personnel, and then the ITPI staff who sees other colleges, sees how they're doing their committees. But it is important to formalize, as formal as you need to be, but have a structured, bi-monthly or monthly meeting, so there is dialogue going on, and you can dispel some of the fears, because there are barriers. There are things that come up like CalGETC, like transferability, maybe a discipline faculty that just doesn't understand ACE. There's things that will arise, and when you have many players in your CPL committee or work group, it's going to help out. But that does inform then the functions of MAP. Who's actually going to go into the tech side and be pushing CPL forward. So this is a sample workflow. Your institution may do articulations differently, right? Some institutions, the evaluator is going to see an out-of-state transcript first. Other institutions that I've worked at as a counselor, it's the counselor that reviews that first and makes the consideration with consultation of the articulation officer. So it's going to work differently at different places. It might work differently for your student veterans than it will work for your industry credentials and that group, and that's okay. But this is a sample of what we see as probably the most common with establishing credit for prior learning articulations, and then we apply that into the MAP roles. So the first one up here, and then I'll hand it off to Sam. The first one is the MAP ambassador, and some institutions have requested to have 2 ambassadors, just because there's someone there in case someone is out, sick or on vacation or something, so the process still goes forward. But we do recommend that it's either like a CPL coordinator or administrator at dean level, someone that can make personnel decisions or funding decisions, and really has the time to be able to shepherd all these things through, because that ambassador is going to add the points of contact, as many of you have done already, loading in who plays what role. The MAP ambassador is also going to ensure kind of compliance with the use of the system. There's FERPA training that your institution may want for your evaluator, your faculty that are engaging with the MAP tech platform. That MAP ambassador, that's their responsibility to ensure that people who have access and passwords are getting the FERPA training appropriately. So that role is vital. But they're really, again, I want to stress, there aren't that many players, there aren't that many individuals that you want to have in the MAP tech platform. It's a smaller subset based off of your workflow of how you approve credit for prior learning. Sam?
Yeah, so here you see a 4-step process that mimics many colleges' curriculum approval workflow, where at the evaluator stage, this might, if you substituted a faculty initiator initiating curriculum, They would initiate a course change or a new course or program in the system. Then it would probably get faculty department approval. Then it would move to the curriculum committee instead of the articulation officer. It might move to the articulation officer in the curriculum committee. And then once the curriculum committee approves it, it goes into implementation. So this is intended to provide a workflow with approvals and to be flexible. And so the ambassador gets everything works with us to get everything set up. You know, we know your courses and programs, and we've worked with your college to see what the best workflow would be. And then we can make adjustments in this 4-step process. In the evaluator step 1 is basically someone at your college initiates the articulation process and requests. And so we'll have some questions for you later to consider on that. And the evaluator also assigns area or elective credit. This could also be a counselor. And they've finalized the JST analysis. This is a little bit of the weedy process. This is the wonky part of the process where someone gets in and becomes conversant with credit recommendations from ACE or other types of credit recommendations. They start to understand those, and they do a good job of matching them up with courses. Okay, then once they are initiated, it goes to faculty generally in the form of an email. Faculty can approve it right in the email and view the documents that they need. Then it goes to the articulation officer for review, and there might be notes on transfer implications, and the articulation officer can also be set up to approve or deny this articulation moving forward based on their expertise. And then it moves into implementation. The implementation could be an additional approval step if you want. Some colleges have a dean where they want the area dean, division dean to approve as well, or maybe department chair, or maybe you don't need the 4th step of approval, so you just keep it 3 steps of approval. But that's the basic workflow. Brooke, did I miss anything on the tech side of things you want to talk about?
No, I'm just coming in to say that I don't want you guys to stress about this part of it. We will have an ambassador training, and we will help you set up your users. And then after we get your users set up, then we'll give you the next steps on how to train each of those individual roles. So the biggest lift is what Dr. Lee and Terrence were speaking to, is identifying those individuals at your campus. But then when we have those technical meetings, we'll get you guys going and you'll be good to go.
Thanks, Brooke. That's true. Yeah, please don't feel intimidated by any of this. It's a step-by-step process.
Yeah, I want to hit on something that doesn't really reflect in this, that we've had a lot of questions on recently, especially from new members, is, hey, what are other colleges doing, and how do we, expeditiously just adopt what these other institutions have done? You will have that function within MAP, and that's a little bit higher level and a little bit further down the road that Brooke or one of the folks from ITPI can help you with. But know that that's a little bit of the easy button. If you're engaging now in those conversations with your CPL work group, or going in presenting to Senate or curriculum committee, have those conversations about, hey, if our peer institutions are all accepting XYZ, what are we going to do once we have access to MAP and our workflows set up? Can we consider adopting these in these certain disciplines? It'll make life a heck of a lot easier for you. And once you've done a few of them, then your disciplined faculty are fully trusting of you and the process, and they know you're not just handing out credit free willy-nilly. You're actually having, documentation and clear alignment with their SLOs and their courses. Once you built that trust, then kind of the gloves are off and you can start giving a lot of CPL out there. That adopting of CPL, I think, is something I wanted to stress that kind of works outside of the process a little bit.
Excellent. Thanks, Terrence. Let me turn it over to Brooke. She's going to talk about the additional course and program data. Before you take over, Brooke, I just want you to know that we have the basic data we need for MAP to function now, but we believe that your colleges and your faculty have a better and richer experience when we get this additional data, which is not available from COKI right now. We are working with the Chancellor's Office to see if we can find ways to export data from COKI that would do this for you, so we don't have to do this repeat work, because we know that the program and course descriptions are in COKI, but they're not included in the export feature. I don't believe the SLOs are part of the data set, and so that we would probably need to continue to get on the outside. But the student learning outcomes are helpful for us, especially when your faculty are looking at matching up the descriptions from ACE and their particular course. But go ahead, Brooke.
Yeah, so again, this falls in line with the ambassador role. As Dr. Lee spoke to, we take the outline of your programs of study and course descriptions from COKI, but the missing data element that we're needing is those descriptions. So in the chat, you're going to find some Excel spreadsheets that have that formatting that's needed for that data. As soon as we get that data, then we can upload that into MAP. And then additionally, we do recommend those SLOs because, as to what Dr. Lee spoke to earlier, it's kind of a richer data set that's in your application to help individuals better understand those articulations that they're creating, the data behind it. So it's just really, that is not necessary, but it's definitely something that is suggested. Again, at our ambassadors training, I'll help you. This information you'll be able to provide us at that time, and we'll get it added into MAP for you.
Great, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we want to give you one more little video, 2-minute video, which talks about our standard operating procedure, or 10-step process, or it's the process we've developed that starts with uploading a student's JST to transcribing CPL. So let's get started on that.
You're implementing MAP, and you've set up your workflow members in the system. Now you're ready to help your students get the college credit they deserve. Step 1. Gather a list of...
All right, guys.
You're implementing MAP, and you've set up your workflow members in the system. Now you're ready to help your students get the college credit they deserve. Step 1. Gather a list of all military students at your college, those using benefits, those not using benefits, and those who only indicated military on their application. Step 2. Collect and upload JSTs into MAP. All new student veterans should submit JSTs and DD-214s as part of your college's onboarding process. MAP parses the JST and creates individual CPL plans for each student. Step 3. Student meets with an academic counselor to develop a student education plan, or SEP. Step 4. College staff ensure that appropriate credit is given to all military students who complete basic training. Step 5. College staff match recommended credits from each JST to college courses. Step 6. Students meet with a VRC representative or counselor to discuss their program of study and determine how to apply credits to their student education plan and guided pathway. Step 7. Faculty and others are notified of pending articulations and either approve or deny requests. The decisions are stored in MAP. Step 8. College Evaluator reviews CPL plan and finalizes any other CPL possible. Step 9. As students near graduation, they meet with a counselor to finalize the application of CPL to their program of study. Step 10. As part of the degree application process, Admissions and Records adds the credits to their official college transcript. That's it! You're ready to start helping students get the credit they deserve. For more information, visit map.rccd.edu.
Oh, .edu. That's easy enough, right? We kind of joke about the last step of transcribing the CPL because that tends to be quite a challenge for most colleges at first. But once you get over that hurdle, it does simplify the process somewhat. Okay, so back, if we reiterate that CPL process, it looks like this. That first step is to assemble a list of military students at your institution. Here's what you want to include. You want to include benefits users. Some of you already do this, so I apologize if I'm telling you something you already know. But it should include GI Bill benefit users. Those are certified students using GI Bill benefits. Then you want to also include those who are not non-benefit users. So these are veterans who've not elected to use their GI Bill benefits. This is more common than you would think at the community college, because if they can save those benefits while they're at your college, they can use those at their transfer institution and get that bachelor's or master's degree with those 3 years of benefits. So don't leave them off your list, though. It's easy to do. If you just rely on the certified students, you might think that's all your veterans. But the 23,463 I mentioned in California, that's just the benefit users. There might be half again as many non-benefit users in California Community College. And then also those who just identify as military on CCC apply. And the reason I'm going on about this is because I think most of all our colleges give credit for basic training or for a JST or for a DD-214. So you get 4 units or 5 units or 6 units or 3 units for Area E credit often. And we want to make sure, part of our initiative is to make sure we get equitable treatment so that all veterans across the state of California in the community college system are getting that basic training, DD-214, JST, Area E credit, and they're not being left off the list. So we think, heck, if all 76 colleges do a good job of that, we've already maybe doubled the CPL given in the state if we can pick up all those lost students with just that one step. So assemble that list. Second step is to upload your JST into MAP. So this is one student. Calvin Klein comes into the ARC as a JST. We upload it into MAP. Now here's homework for you. Terrence already mentioned it. Collect 10 JST PDFs, not imaged, to get ready for when we have MAP 2.0 go live on May 4th. You can upload those JSTs and you'll have automatic student records in MAP with all of their credit recommendations parsed. So collect those. And we do want to make sure they're not the imaged versions that come off your imaging system, because often those get wonky and they don't parse very reliably. And so,
Sam, can I jump in there? Because
yeah,
we heard some feedback from our previous cohort colleges about informing students of what you're going to be doing with their documents. So with that said, I do want to stress that I would highly encourage that your onboarding process includes the collection of that official JST, that as you're onboarding all of your student veterans, that's an expectation, just like out-of-state transcripts, or AP scores or other documentation that you require. That should be a requirement now. Everybody onboarding from here forward in the California community colleges that is a veteran should be expected to send in that joint services transcript, the official. I would also recommend potentially having a statement on your onboarding forms about that, that you would be storing these and using these for planning and academic planning purposes. That's completely fine to do. You also can order in bulk. If you inform your students, you can order directly from the Department of Defense those joint services transcripts. So that whole idea of 10 seems like, oh, wow, where are we going to start from? Literally, if you started your onboarding process change tomorrow, by the time you get to about July, you'd have all of those collected, just because naturally they'd come in with the onboarding of new students.
Yeah, and if you start, good point, Terrence, if you start with if you're assembling the list and you know all the students, the veterans who've been certified, then you can order all of those JSTs in bulk from JST.mil, and you can upload all of them. If you have 78 veterans at your school, you start off with 78. If you have 178, start off with 178. So anyway, then we're going to jet through the next set of procedures because we're running a little bit long here, and I want to make sure I leave a little bit of time at the end for questions. But the next step is to check for global credit. That's the global credit, the default credit, that's that Area E credit, and make sure that it's appropriate. Oh, I skipped the student profile, number 2. Yeah, we create a student profile when we upload the JST. And so you do need to have, we recommend that you have an ed plan or as Terrence puts it, an 8515 report that has, so that we can indicate their program of study and transfer destination, because that affects how you apply that global Area E credit. And it also affects all of the credit for prior learning that you're going to put on their plan. You want to make sure if they're going to CSU somewhere that it's appropriate. Maybe they're going to UC and it changes very much the application of credit. Now, number 4, the evaluator designee is going to create articulations right in MAP. This is quite an easy process. We'll show you later. And it's all within the platform. Click, 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 send it off for faculty to approval. But homework on this is to start a conversation with faculty leadership about CPL and their role in approving. Maybe here's another place to start. If you don't quite feel ready for that first, is do you have a faculty CPL lead? And we're happy to talk with you. We have role descriptions on that if you're interested, but we really recommend that you have a faculty CPL coordinator or a lead. And then the fifth step in the process to act on each credit recommendation. We'll show you that later, how to do that exactly. But you might want to identify who would do this. Would it be an academic records evaluator? Would it be your veterans counselor? Would it be your school certifying official? You want to think about who that would be. This is the person who looks at the JST on MAP and says, yeah, let's get credit for this. Let's get credit for this. Let's put area credit, elective credit, course credit. And then step 6 is the counselor. This could be the same person as number 5, or designee meets with the student to finalize their CPL plan. This is before it goes to transcription. Everything we're talking about up until this point is a planning process. It does not touch or affect your student information system. It can be changed if the student changes their major. If they change their transfer destination, it can be changed. This is all a planning process. The next step is 7. The student has the opportunity in this step to accept, deny, or appeal. This can be a fairly automatic step, like an opt-out step, which can happen in level 6. So it doesn't have to be a big deal, but we do want you to consider a formal process. Do you have a form? Do you have a procedure? If they want to accept, deny, or appeal. This is a Title V 5050 requirement. And the last step is transcribe. So you might want to start the conversation with A&R to see how you're transcribing AP credit, IB credit, CLEP credit, or even high school articulation credit. So that's the process. Those are some things you can think about doing. And the benefits of that planning process are that it ensures that all possible CPL awards are made. This really optimizes your CPL for basic training particularly. And the articulations are stored in MAP, so the next veteran who comes in is going to get that. It's going to be a much faster process for the next veteran who comes in with the same JST, the same occupation. And then articulations are adoptable, which is cool. The more we do, the easier it'll get. And then there's a MAP search feature. When you complete these articulations, they're stored in MAP, and there's a MAP search feature, which we won't show you much today, but students can go on themselves, upload their JST, pick your college, and see what credits they might be eligible for based on what you've articulated at your college. So it's really cool outreach opportunity. And this will facilitate all types of CPL, and it allows your colleges to monitor and report on CPL awarded and demonstrate Title 5505 compliance. We wanted to just include this in our slide deck. We're not going to go over it, but this is some FERPA compliance information we have for you. This is the tech. This is tech compliance to FERPA issues, and this is talking about notifications that we give users who are going to access a JST from MAP. If you upload a MAP in JST, you can download the MAP JST from MAP. When you download it, it's redacting the social security number and the date of birth, so that's not available to you once it's uploaded into MAP when you back download it. But we do want to make sure you know that you're downloading that document, you're responsible for that. Please adhere to all your local college and district FERPA compliance procedures. And now we'll jump to Q&A, next steps. And whose slide is this? Is this Cal?
Yeah, Dr. Lee, we're just basically providing our new cohort members the next steps for this. I know, Brooke, you're going to jump in on this for our next training, which is the MAP Basic Training 2.0 on May 4th and 5th. And the only thing we asked you is to go back to providing us your personnel for your MAP workflow and also see who will be appropriate for your support team. Brooke?
Yeah, to speak to what Calvin said is that after our release date of the 2.0, so you're able to work in the most current version of MAP, we will schedule a meeting with your ambassadors to get you started and ready to go. Before that meeting, we are requesting that you have your workflow members identified and your curriculum information ready and available. As soon as you have this information, you can reach out to us and we can schedule that meeting. But again, if you're needing support in identifying who needs to be in your workflow, Dr. Lee, Terrence, Calvin, we're all available to assist with that in any way. But before the ambassador training, that would be the information that's needed.
Excellent. We want you to have some resources available. So here's some resources. We have a website with all sorts of stuff. We have a American Council on Education ACE faculty reviewer training, which is super helpful to give to your academic senate president and faculty who are interested in maybe becoming an ACE faculty reviewer. And they want to see the rigor of the process of creating these credit recommendations. We also have that same introductory video you saw. Number 4 is our standard operating procedure video you saw. Number 5 is the faculty approval process video, which you might want to send to your faculty, which shows how they approve. A very summary, it's very short, it's 3 minutes. And then a little video on the MAP CPL search tool for you. Then we have a whole bunch of CPL Summit videos as resources for you in the library and an FAQ set of stuff. And if you have questions, we are here to serve you. We do want you to think of us as if we are part of your team. And so when you run into any kind of questions, difficulties, opportunities, please give us a call. Please contact us and consider us part of your team. We have office hours, drop-in office hours every Friday from 2 to 3. We'll be there this Friday if you want to jump on. We're using the same Zoom link for all of these trainings, and our next training is coming up May 4th, and then opportunity for May 5th is a duplicate, and then May 18th and a duplicate on May 19th. And that is it. Let me stop sharing and got a couple minutes for any sort of questions, comments, observations.
Yeah, I got a comment. Samuel, if you don't mind, I just wanted to let everybody know that I did share the form for those schools that need access to the military transcripts or JSTs.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. A lot of times the person that was in charge of that is either retired or is no longer there.
We discovered, Jose, we were at CCME Veterans Conference this year, and we talked to the JST folks. They're down to 2 JST full-time staff for the whole country. So
wow.
they're doing unbelievable work.
Wow. Yeah. So once you send out the form, they're pretty quick at responding, believe it or not.
Great.
Like you said, they do a pretty good job. One of the things that it gives you a challenge is that you have to reset your password or activate your account. If it's not after 10 days, they'll deactivate your account, but they're pretty quick at activating it. But the form I shared on the chat, if anybody needs access to that, just complete that form and email it, and they're pretty good at giving you the access once they do the research on it.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're very welcome.
Hey folks, we're going to take one more question before we close out, and then we're going to hang around. Our team's going to hang around for anyone who wants to stick around, but we want to be mindful of your time for the 1 o'clock. So if you need to take off, fine, and we'll stop recording at 1, and then folks can talk freely. Any other last question or comment or suggestion?
Well, you guys are laying down a foundation over these next several months for building a house for CPL. So, you're off to the right, start. Coming here today, and we'll see you in a couple weeks. I will say I'm hoping to see some of you have 8-10 pages on tests at the end of fall next year as we adopt each other's articulations, and you may create some great articulations on your campus that Norco and Riverside hasn't even thought of yet, and we can learn from your work. So excited to see this cohort grow and support more reentry students.
Thanks everyone for coming. We're going to stop recording now and we'll hang out for anyone who wants to hang out. Thank you for attending.